What is creativity? Creativity makes new things, but not just new things, because new things aren't necessarily valuable. So creativity makes new things that have value. Creativity is what we use to solve problems, and we all solve problems on a daily basis. So we all employ creativity. Sometimes artists solve problems they set for themselves. For example, Steve Jobs solved a problem we did not know we had when he invented the iPhone. Even though we didn't realize we needed it, it turned out that once we saw it, we realized we did need it. Children have spontaneity and freshness, but they don't have all the knowledge and skill required, for example, to solve a problem like the iPhone. So, despite what we often think, the highest level of creativity belongs to adults, not to children, even though the spontaneity of children is part of creativity. So, if it's one part of creativity, what are some of those other parts of creativity? What else makes up creativity? Your textbook goes through a number of different aspects to creativity. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but I'm going to highlight a couple things. For example, if you want to be more creative, learn about things from different fields. Creative people can make connections across a variety of different genre or fields or subject matter, and by making those connections, they can create something entirely new. So, Apple Store, again, Steve Jobs looked not at other electronic stores to develop his store, but he learned from a different industry entirely. He looked at hotels, famous for their customer service, and he asked, what makes them so great? Then he implemented what he found. He implemented concierge service in the Apple Genius Bar, shown here, for example, and in salespeople that were stationed all around the store. That creates a fast checkout without lines. So creative people are able to generate lots of ideas, but they also need to test those ideas and test which ideas will actually work. And so the process of testing ideas also includes evaluating those ideas and refining those experiments until they do work. Again, this is a distinction that takes us beyond the level of childhood free expression, because then we need to test which ideas are going to work the best. Here's an example of an artist who creatively brings together different ideas from different fields. So he's taking something from sports, the realm of sports, and the way that sports are documented, and then he takes chalk art and street art and the style of street art, and he also takes photography and the composition, use of composition and color and formal elements. Taking all those things together, he creates something entirely new. This image, which if you saw it in a museum, this is the height of it. So it's important to always look at how big a piece of art is. So if you can see this, this is actually almost 2/3 the size of a person's body, or 3/4 the size of a person's body if that person is 6 feet tall. So that's employing creativity. Let's look at some other ways that artists have employed creativity. Romar Bearden was an artist working during the Harlem Renaissance. He brings together disparate elements through collage. He does this to express something about his experience growing up in Harlem and in the South. So here's an example of the rural South, as well as his experience of Harlem. And he does this, he portrays this unique subject matter through the use of a unique medium. So an artist, he's an artist trying to solve a problem about how to convey something about his experience. And he does this by bringing together disparate elements from magazines and different images to create collage. Artists have to use trial and error. Romar Bearden probably had to try different arrangements, many different arrangements of these images to get across what he was looking for. And he had to employ certain skills in order to do that. Skills about how compositions are constructed and what makes a good composition. Some artists employ creativity as outsider artists. And what we mean by outsider artists is simply artists that just never were trained within the established realms of art school, never were part of the system of galleries and museums, but they also employ skills to solve problems and to fulfill this human impulse to make things, such as this artist here, who creates this huge structure outside of the realm of the museum and the gallery system. This artist is also someone who's an outsider artist, not part of any system. This was actually found in a dumpster, but took time and energy to focus skill on creating this object with intentionality and rigor. Along with outsider artists, there are also folk artists. And folk artists also work outside of the regular system of galleries and museums, but they work not as lone individuals, but within traditions, in particular traditions.